2020 is going to be a mess. There is no way that you can plan for something and it is going to go to plan. It's not going to be one of our best years, but I think it is going to be our best year. I'm already incredibly proud of our team.
All right, well, welcome to another edition of Behind the Grind, social distance style, coming to you from Zoom. We got US, Lisbon, and Singapore on the line today. So really looking forward to this, having a great time talking about kind of coming off of a conversation Brian and I had a few weeks ago around the idea of the need to keep innovating, keep moving, keep doing something during this time. I think the title of it last time was like, do not waste this time. As an American, living in America, what I can see is like people are now starting to wake up to the whole idea like, wow, this is gonna be a little bit longer, we need to do something. But following up from that video, Tom and I had a great conversation. I just want to bring him on because he's been one of the most active, innovative people, at least in the nonprofit space, and I know it's gonna be a great conversation. So thank you for joining us and really looking forward to this. So Tom, we have 2 videos already of you on this channel. So would love to have another, quick introduction to the work that you're doing, where you're at, and kind of how you've been seeing the COVID 2019 crisis.
All right. I'm Tom Stader. I'm founder of the Library Project, executive director of an organization that's based out of China and Vietnam. We're an American organization that's also registered in Hong Kong. Over the past 14 years, we've supported over 3,000 schools, impacted well over 1 million kids, over 2 million books donated. We're predominantly locally funded, either in China or in Vietnam, predominantly. And I would say throughout the COVID crisis, that pivot back in 2008 that we started to do with regards to local funding has really helped us during the COVID crisis, because almost 100% of our funding since the COVID crisis has come from inside either China or Vietnam.
So when did COVID start for you guys, and what were kind of the first days or weeks of this time for you guys? What were you seeing? What were you feeling? What were some of the early things that you were acting on?
I thought it was going to last 2-3 months. It was just kind of going to burn itself out. It became apparent really quickly, right around Chinese New Year, that I was like, this is going to last much longer. By that point, my whole Chinese team were in quarantine. People in Vietnam were wearing masks on the street. There was a general level of anxiety, I think, within Asia that I just don't think anyone in the West was feeling, beyond my immediate family, I would say, or people who had connections to Asia. And so how it impacted my organization was, the first thing that we did was just made sure that everyone was safe. That's it. We just knew right off the bat 2020 was going to be fundraising is not our focus this year. And it continues to not be our focus. And we're lucky enough to have money in the bank to allow ourselves to not have it be a focus. So
How did your team feel at that?
I think they were scared, and all I was really focused on was supporting them. And so we based our policy on government policy, so making sure that we comply with local government policy, and then on internal policy that we worked on previously, and what was ethically correct.
Right.
And just we balanced those things out. And at that point, we said, all right, we're going to start up on X date. We're going to work from home. The first 2 weeks, loose, didn't really work out that well. By the 3rd week, we were firing on all pistons. And by the 4th week, we had identified a new program that works solely with parents
Mhm.
partnering with government, and we partnered with government while we were in quarantine, developed a program, and by the fifth week, we had fully funded the program locally in the county, the rural county that we were funding and that we were working to support, along with online throughout China.
Right.
So it was 20% more local than we've ever fundraised ever at the organization, and 80% throughout China, all online. And then by the time we got out, on the first day we were back in our offices, we were implementing that program. And then our Vietnam team went down, and we did the same thing for a global online learning campaign.
So when this started to happen, I guess, you as the founder, like, saw it really kind of big picture, like, this is going to be a bad year. Thank God we have money in the bank. Thank God my team is safe. Your team is like, okay. And then you have to worry about how do you engage them when they're doing home officing, which I think was kind of something that everyone was really looking at, right, at the time. And, some of us are doing better than others after the second and third week. So from there, I know you talked about like a little bit new program development, but what were some of the other areas that the organization itself was being impacted? You mentioned the schools went down, but what was operationally happening at that time to you guys? Like, how were you figuring out or triaging the organization to figure out?
I'll just say it's hard, it's messy. Through my role throughout it was supporting individuals on my team. That's it. It was not. It was making sure they were getting paid, making sure, meaning not me making sure they're getting paid, but making sure our finance department knows that we should pay everyone, and that at no point are we ever going to talk about furloughing employees or laying people off for a year. Just I don't want to have that conversation.
So you guys are just like super lucky in NGO land and in most business land to even have that confidence.
No, I don't think it's luck. I think it's hard work. And I think it's a little bit of foresight and a little common sense. I honestly don't understand how Disney is furloughing people. I don't. I have no idea. Like, if a nonprofit can do a little bit of planning, I think one of the largest companies on the planet should also. But moving back to the library project, I beyond that, when I started the organization, I made a decision to not be the guy who makes all the decisions in the organization. So very quickly, the first person I hired was a country director. She was the country director of one. Then we built an internal directors of paid directors. So we have two other directors on our team, and those three ladies made all of the decisions, all the tough calls. And I just chimed in regularly to make sure that they're being supported. It wasn't really my job to make sure that the organization was on track. It was our team, and it was our team that came up with the program, and it was our team that built the policies. I was the guy that was like, yeah, I think this policy looks good. I think it's the right policy. Or beyond that, it was truly our team.
So, I mean, it's very interesting. Actually, this gets back into earlier conversations that Brian and I have had about kind of internal dynamics and management and communication. How did having the team so empowered and so structured to make their own decisions, to kind of triage their own organization, how did that really help you as the founder / leader of the organization, just to get it done, maybe faster, better, whatever it may be? Like, is that a better place to be than if it was you trying to tell them what to do the whole time?
Yes, it's 1,000 times better. I mean, I would have had a heart attack. I don't know how these micromanagers do it. And I used to be one of them. The first 5 years of running the organization, I was having daily panic attacks. I was, stressed out, going to the hospital regularly, just trying to keep my head above water. And then at some point, someone was like, hey, stupid, why don't you truly empower your team, not just give them titles? And I think at that point, my life got a lot easier at the organization. And I was able to take on a different role, and my job became more fun. Not fun, but like it wasn't a drag. And
Right.
if something like this happened, I, I would have been right back there, just like daily panic attacks, stressed out, trying to, like, the weight of the organization on everyone's shoulders.
Right.
Um, and and I think dispersing that, especially when you have a small team, dispersing that out and allowing everyone to take a little bit, and also understand and communicate to people that, hey, and I have this conversation more where recently, which is 2020 is going to be a mess. There is no way that you can plan for something and it is going to go to plan at all.
Yeah.
So where, like, and one example that I give is that, like, we normally have annual budgets, annual organization budgets. Great. We approve it in November, October, December. We don't think about it really until November, October, December the previous year. We look at reality. We look at what works, what doesn't. Update, vote, do it again. Our 2020 budget. So now we just reviewed a new 2020 budget. 3 of them, good, bad, and really bad. And they're all pretty good. I mean, they're all bad,
Yeah.
but
Okay,
but we review them monthly now.
Yeah.
We don't review them annually now, because I don't know what the world's going to look like in 30 days. I don't know what the world's going to look like in Singapore in 30 days. I don't know what it's going to look like in China. I don't know what it's going to look like in Europe. I don't know what it's going to look like in 3 months or 6 months. And anyone that says that they do is just full of shit. There's a lot of hope out there, but I'm kind of like a paranoid guy. I want to make sure that we've,
Yeah. So, okay. So,
to a degree.
Then how do you approach your 3 layers of budget? Like, what does good, which is awful, look compared to horrible, which is what most people consider to be kind of catastrophic? Like, what are the lenses, the rosy tints that you're able to find to even construct a good budget?
Well, I mean, it's all basically access to be able to implement programs. Because once we're able to implement our core program that we've been doing for 14 years,
right.
Then it becomes good. But even in a good year now, we're going to lose $40,000. So I'll just open it up. Good is lose $40,000. So we're already, like, going in, like, by the end of the year, we're 40 down. Bad is 120. All right. But we still have money in the bank to be able to, we still have another year and a half. And so right in the middle, I think it's like 60 or something. It's not, it's not bad. So we aim in the middle, but I can already see that the decisions we're making, and we've opened it up to the majority of the organization so that they can see that the decisions they make today with regards to, getting creative with programming, that number of 40 is going to go down to 30 in, say, 2 months. And then in maybe 3 or 4 months, it'll go down to, 10. And we'll probably break even at the end of the year. It's not going to be one of our best years, but I think it is going to be our best year with regards to innovation and with regards to working as a team. And I think we're going to have one of the best years. I'm already incredibly proud of our team, and we haven't donated one library yet in China.
Let's assume your schools don't open up like they did. There's a new normal, whatever it may be. We'll hear about that, quite a bit. How are you looking at that? Like, how are you going to fix that? Or are you going to have to create entirely new program sets, entirely new engagement sets, entirely new everything, so that you have to, as an organization, pivot to have something to do?
I'm not gonna give my armchair idea on when schools are going to open up. I know that they will, and I know that the local governments are being more conservative, and I assume that conservative planning that they have and conservative execution with regards to their children and with regards to the teachers and these individuals is going to impact our organization. It's our job to look for the opportunities in there. And as one example is, we bring corporate employee volunteers to 95% of our libraries that they physically donate financially. That may be a challenge this year. That may be a challenge in 2021. So it's up to us to look at, well, maybe this online Zoom thing is something that we can leverage. Maybe a Tencent meeting or WeChat, or really leaning into online training. So it's up to us to find that. And I'm pretty happy that we are doing that. But we're also we're allowing the government time to do that. And I don't want that to sound bad that we're like allowing them to do it. We're allowing ourselves to allow them to do that. And it gives us time to focus on other things so that we can support them. It is about supporting them. It's not about them helping us. And the same thing goes for our corporate partners. If fundraising is not what we should be, is not what they're looking to hear, then maybe we can work on building stronger partnerships with them and supporting them in other ways that will build a stronger relationship, that when they are ready, then we'll be there. You know what I mean? So it's just tough. I mean, it's a really tough year, and it's tough because I have to keep reminding myself that no matter how kind of difficult it is for us, it's a lot more difficult for other people out there.
Yeah.
Like it's hard. It seems like it's going to get harder.
Yeah.
Because it's
Okay,
not.
so here's my question. All right, sorry to interrupt for a second though. The idea that this is probably going to be an extremely difficult year, it's a very tough year, as you already said. How do you and then you still have the expectation of innovation, of trying and experimenting, doing stuff differently. How do you keep motivated or even know what the right direction to innovate in? All those questions around that, about what to do next. Like, how do you just get your focus right? And not just for you, maybe, because that might be easy, but for the team.
I think it's harder for me than my team, to be completely honest, because just on a program standpoint, I don't understand our programs as well as they do. So, it was my job to be able to ask the critical questions, which were regarding budgeting, like what's our runway look like?
Yeah.
Can I honestly support my team? Okay, great, done. Then for them, with regards to innovation, they've been doing this for 14 years. I mean, we have team members that have been there from day one. they knew what they wanted to play with. You know what I mean? They were like parents were hard for us. We've always wanted to do something with parents. So they built a new program that partners with government to get access to parents that can then support their children. And I think it's hard for my team now because they've built a beautiful little program. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's just, I'm blown away at how different it is. Like, our libraries cost $6,000 US for one library in China. This program is 14 US dollars for one family. So it is like, it's so dramatically different. And so I just get so excited about that. And now they're like, well, we want it to go back to normal. And as the world is saying, we want it to go back to normal. I mean, they're not saying anything that's any different than what any of us or our families or our communities are saying. And normal is donating libraries. And what I try to remind them is, you know, in 2 years, we might be donating this new program.
Mm.
We might not, but we'll definitely be donating libraries. And what we've learned here, we might be able to integrate parents into our libraries as a new area that we support, a new indicator, a new just something new.
That's amazing. Like, I'm so inspired actually, because it sounds like, you know, it sounds like the runway is not a problem, and you have some ideas.
I mean, it is a problem. It is a problem, but
I think it's a concern, but it's not an urgent problem
now.
Right,
Yes,
exactly.
yes. I don't want to make it sound like,
and I think that's an
being aloof
achievement
about it.
already. And I wonder, besides like the runway as a concern, how would you categorize the resilience of the whole organization?
You know, I think just reminding people and reminding first myself, it's going to be a tough year, and I'm going to make major mistakes along the way. Like, I'm not okay with it, but I'm giving myself the space to be able to make those, because this is a once in 100-year thing, and I just happen to be around for it. You know, and there's no easy way to get through this. And then taking that and reminding my team that they're going to make mistakes. It's not going to be easy. Plans are great ideas the minute you create that plan. And then, you know, to be kind to each other, to work with each other, to give each other more space to make mistakes, to, fundraising is really important, but it's knowing when it is important, and why it is important. It will become very important to us, you know. And I do want to also say one thing, like, our runway is not assuming that we will raise no money. It is assuming that we are going to miss our goals. And I think that's a very different kind of runway than just having, you know, bags of cash in the bank, which we don't.
You mentioned that you made you had the first 5 years you were micromanager, and that you've really changed that. If you look back now, what are some of the key investments, time, money, training, your own sanity, whatever it may be? Like, what were some of those key investments that allowed you to have an organization that is this kind of, it's got this healthy internal empowerment engine going on? Like, what were some of the key things, and, you know, that you can look back on now and go, wow, that really paid off now?
I think I just had nervous breakdowns daily. for years. And at one point, I asked for help, totally by accident, from a coach, from one of these executive coach guys. The first session I had with him, he said, "Tom, I want you to go back. I want you to put an out of office email automatic reply on your email. And I want you to say, if this is for fundraising, it goes to the fundraising director. And here's her. If it is programs, it goes to the country director. If it goes here. And if it's anything else, I'll get back to you in 24 to 48 hours. And he said, keep it on there for a year. It was forced delegation at that point, and forced trust. And honestly, I love that guy. It was great. I rely a lot on coaching these days. So about once every year, I'll do 2-3 months just to kind of talk to someone, because it helps. And I coach a lot of early stage founders, helping them get through that first couple of months.
And then what did that process then lead to, in terms of the organization's kind of strength and resilience? Like, how did that open it up to the next actions?
It wasn't me designing the next actions. It was our team very literally inviting me to our annual planning meeting in January, literally. And they were like, we're hosting it from 9 to 5 o'clock. We would like you to come at 4 o'clock. And I say, great. That is what I want. That it's not like, it's empowerment is not like, it's different for everyone. All right. So my version of empowerment is going to be different from someone else's. This is my version, and it works well for me until it doesn't. It's not perfect, So, but in a crisis like this, I took on one part of the problem,
right,
and they took on the others. And when it comes to innovation, they take on, again, the lion's share of it, and I take on another part of it. So I think, like, resilience, it's just comes down to people. Like, every single problem can be solved by individuals. Right. That's it. That's how I see it. Because I don't know the answers.
So, I mean, you go from, like, being micromanager, nervous breakdown, to now your team telling you when to show up for the annual planning. Like, in between there, is there, hiring practices change, annual review practices change, like the way that you run meetings with people, like, is all of that changing, or were you just needing to put up that one email and everything was magically better?
No. I mean, that was the beginning, and then but what that coach showed me was leadership might mean to me, because I'm sure that Brian is one kind of leader, Rich is another kind of leader. You know what I mean? And you have all three of us are great leaders, and our teams sometimes love us, sometimes hate us, sometimes question what we're doing, sometimes whatever. But we have our own styles, and it comes from, I think what I give is just a focus on what's important, and that's it. And it's more of a philosophical what's important. It isn't like, they know that the budget needs to be balanced. They know that they need to hit their goals. They know that that HR reviews need to happen on an annual basis. They also know that Tom should probably not be interviewing for capacity, but Tom should be interviewing for, making sure that they're aligned with the mission and the vision of the organization. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it isn't, I'm not sitting there saying, yeah, this is going to be a good program manager. Our team knows that, and they hire. It's not me. And when they come to me, I want to, and they ask me a specific question, I kind of walk them through it, and I get them to come up with the answer as much as possible. Sometimes I have to lean in and be like, this is the answer, but it's rare. It's rare. I'm lucky after a lot of hard work.
Now, it's interesting, like your hard work is really about you and learning how to release and to let them actually take on the process that you were then too overbearing on, right? Like the work is different, but everyone's got to do their part.
Yeah. And during this, just getting back to the coronavirus issues that we're having at the organization, they're taking on the lion's share of the challenges. And I'm proud of them for that. And it gives me the space to work on other things. It's good. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's stressful. I'm not going to say that I sleep well at night. I sleep better than I would have 10 years ago. So,
dude, it's been awesome having you here, and like we're all saying, like we just can't wait to get at least just back into the same space and do this physically, because these are conversations that we would be having anyway. Like Tom and I have these conversations about as often as Brian and I did, because we were all there. We would, we'd be going off each other and just, it's just brilliant, right? The content's about the people, and I enjoy the shit out of it. That's for sure. So,
space is an interesting thing for people right now because it's changed. It's really different.
Yeah, we can start.
It's just this right now, right? That's not that much, Yeah.
And before the coronavirus, I used to hate video calls.
Yeah.
And now I look forward to them. It's just a little bit of humanity every day. So it's different. I think it's changing people for the better in some ways.
Yeah.
Now, thank you very much, Tom. This has been fantastic. We kind of started off with the idea that we'd talk about innovation, don't stop, keep going, but we really moved it more into just how do you build resilient organization, I think, and what's the fruit of that? It takes years, it takes thought. Sometimes it takes a coach to tell you to, reset your whole system and force you into it. But I think, Tom, you're a better person for it. You're still with us, thank God, because I went through that nervous breakdown thing. We have another behind the grind somewhere on that. That's no good for you or for the organization. But we're fortunate. We went through that time. I guess only looking back are you really appreciative that you went through all that bullshit. Because if you hadn't, you wouldn't have set up the organization to where it is now. So thank you very much. Have a great week. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Stay safe.